What's up, guys? We're back here with another video. Sorry it's been so long since my last one. You know, sometimes life gets in the way, and I've been reading a few books all together at the same time, so I thought before I finish those I would start with a quick top 50 countdown. So in this video we'll go from 50 to 46. Now the order of this list is definitely just my preference, what I like and how I look at books, right? So it's not so much about the prose or anything that's really fancy, so sit back and let's get through it. Starting off our list, we got The Great Hunt by Robert Jordan. Now this is a classic, right? Everyone knows about The Wheel of Time, and unfortunately I've only read the first 3 books in this series, and I mean it's just so hard to get into once you have all these other books that you can go through, right? Like all these new modern authors and all the things that they do. So I want to get back into it, especially 4 to 6. I heard it's still great, but after that, who knows? Maybe someday, right? What I liked about The Great Hunt was, although it was an A to B kind of story, the characters, and especially the main character, Randall Thor, his progression throughout the book and him realizing what he needs to do is something that I really enjoyed about it. There were some slower parts, and especially the repetitiveness of the book kind of kept it from being one of the all-time greats, but as far as this list goes, we'll stick it here right at number 50. Coming at 49 on our list is The Divine Cities, book number 2, City of Blades by Robert Jackson Bennett. Now, this series is very underrated to me. I don't see many people talking about it, and I think that's a shame, especially because, especially this book, City of Blades, the main character, the point of view character, changes from book 1, which I thought was a very risky kind of thing for the author to do. And luckily, he did it pretty well. We get this new main character that's a general from book 1, and just her demeanor and the way she talks to people and everything just really clicked with me. And you really feel like she hates life, and that feeling really resonates throughout the book, which for some might be a bad thing, but for me, I loved just seeing this worn down woman just being pushed into a role she really doesn't want to. The magic in this book is something that I really liked and wished more books would do, where it's more in the background, but it kind of seeps in and becomes the main part of it as the series goes on. I think especially because the main character doesn't really have any of the magic, it really pushes this book into the top 50 for me. So when you get a chance, check out this series. I think all 3 books excel at different things, and you'll see one more of these books on the list later. Number 48 on our list, The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Arington. Now, this is a very, very interesting book where there's so much crap in it, right? There's so much stuff that is shoved into it, especially even though it's almost 700, 800 pages. But it felt like it was still too small, right? So I've heard this series, especially book 3, the ending is very great, but my expectations for this book, especially after reading the most recent book, The Will of the Many, which you'll see definitely later on this list, I had high hopes for this book, and some of the hopes were answered, but there was a lot of things that really kept this from being one of the higher up books in my list, right? I don't know about you guys, but for me, I like a singular character. I think that's a very unpopular opinion, but the 4 characters, the 4 point of views in this book, I really resonated with 3 of them, but one of them, every time she was on the page, it was more, okay, let's hurry up and get to the other main characters, especially the protagonist of this book. And I just wish that it was more focused and more compact rather than just spread out like it really feels bad. Overall, though, it's still a great book, and I think when I read the 2nd and 3rd book, I'll have a better appreciation for this book. But for now, we'll keep it here, and we'll revisit this list in a few years. Number 47 on this list is A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. And this book might surprise some people because it's not that popular, and it's definitely not something that I thought would break a top 50 list for me, right? The way it was described to me was basically Harry Potter, but dark. And I'm a sucker for school stories, and it really shows with this, right? I'll be honest, the characters aren't the best, especially the main character. She's kind of a bitch, right? She's kind of a brat, and For some, that might be a put off, but I think just the overall story, the magic, and the school itself, right? The actual setting is what really motivated me to keep reading this book. And I just love that it was dangerous. It felt like everything was dangerous. People were dying that you wouldn't think would die, right? You get introduced to the character and they die right away. And especially the ending of this book was a big cliffhanger that I was very motivated, very eager to get onto the second book, which definitely wasn't as good as the first, but I think if you like a story where a character is forced to go into something that is just pure danger and where you have to learn about what is happening and what is the main cause of it, it is a very interesting book to pick up. It's a quick read and I think less than 400, 500 pages, and I definitely recommend it. Number 46 on this list is The Pariah by Anthony Ryan. Now, I liked a lot of things about this book, especially the beginning. I love the bandit story where there's this kid and he's just learning from a bandit king, and it changes right away. I think around the 25% mark, the book really shifts gear into a different kind of story. And I've seen some other booktubers talk about how they didn't like this and that they wish the story would have continued. But for me, I really like to see the progression of the main character. I'll be honest, I enjoyed the middle part more than the ending. And as I'm about to finish the third book in this series, in the ending, it does kind of go downhill for me because the religious aspect of it, the holy war that becomes one of the main aspects of it, is not something that really intrigues me. But the actual character growth of the main character and see from his point of view, especially because he's retelling the story, so we know he's still alive and we can see kind of his regrets and his thinking as these events unfold. I think that is a very recently that very popular kind of thing to do, the Sun Eater and those kind of stories where you can kind of feel the sorrow and pity that the main character is feeling and kind of reflecting on as he's looking back on his life. So would I recommend this series? I would, definitely. I think especially the first book is something that everyone should pick up, but as I'll probably have a review out for the third book once I finish it, but it goes downhill, unfortunately. And the last book on this list today is a book that really I liked a lot. It was a book that I heard a lot of great feedback on, and the third book just came out recently this year, so I haven't read it yet, but we'll eventually get to it, and that is The Justice of Kings by Richard Swan. Now, this is a very unique book where you have these moral dilemmas that the main character has to go through, trying to balancing justice and righteousness and things that just a lot of books don't touch on. He's basically a judge who has to go around and put justice out for them based on what the king commands. And what I loved about this book was this character is very strong-headed, but he's not too strong-headed, right? In a lot of these books where the moral compass of the character is put to the test, he doesn't change until the ending. But with this book, you can kind of see him change already and change how he interacts and does things. I love the kind of magic, the kind of soft magic in this book. He can use his voice to command people to do things and kind of speak with the dead, but you can see the toll that it takes on him and just the darkness that lies within using this power. So it takes place in one city, and it feels very big, but it's in a small space, right? So I think for most people who have a big appreciation for law and anything that just makes them want to think more, The Justice of Kings is a great series, especially book one, that you should pick up and look at. Now, this is the first video in this series, and I hope to put out videos more frequently, especially trying to get down to number one to show you guys what my favorite top 5 books of all time are. But if you have any recommendations or ideas about the 5 books that I listed, please go ahead and write in the comments. Tell me what you think, and let's start talking about books more. I'm very eager to see what your opinions are, and I hope that you watch the end. Most people don't, but time is money, right? So I hope hope you stay tuned and hear my opinion on things. Until then, I'll see you later.